World leaders are looking at Donald Trump and they smell weakness. Donald Trump seems frozen. He promised that there would be peace in Ukraine in 24 hours from when he took office. In fact, he said he would negotiate a peace deal even before day one. It would be easy. He failed at that. He failed at trying to intimidate President Zelensky. He's failed at trying to intimidate Canada to annex it. He's failed to intimidate Europe. Whether you're our allies or now former allies based on Donald Trump's behavior, or whether you're our adversaries who Donald Trump wants to be friends with, but who are viewing Donald Trump with mockery and weakness like China and Russia. No matter what, everybody is looking at Donald Trump and sensing the same thing. This is an individual who does not know what he's doing, who can't handle this position, who just wants to go golfing and would rather post memes than caring about any details. And this is someone who's focused seemingly on just destroying the United States of America. Take a look at just the international headlines like this in the UK from the Daily Star. Madness of King Don. Another ordinary day in the grand old USA. Man baby Trump. Man baby insists he will defy law to be president until 2023. World markets tumble over new threats on tariffs. You got headlines like this as well. Putin begins biggest Russian military call-up in years. President Vladimir Putin has called up 160,000 men aged 18 to 30, Russia's highest number of conscripts since 2011, as Spravdi explains. While some still want to entertain the notion that Russia's dictator isn't planning on a full war on the European continent, Putin just signed this decree, you see it right here, for spring mobilization, growing the Russian army by another 160,000 troops, in addition to the constant influx of contract soldiers from North Korea and elsewhere. Your friend Donald, Kim Jong-un, Donald, as Jay in Kyiv, who does a great job chronicling what's going on in Russia, Ukraine, and Eastern Europe, as he writes, Russia readies for full-scale war against Europe while Trump tries to extort all of Europe. When America again needs help, allies will be sending blankets. Headlines like this as well from Taiwan. The Chinese military announced large-scale drills, PBS writes, in the waters and airspace around Taiwan on Tuesday that include an aircraft carrier battle group, as it again warned the self-ruled island democracy against seeking formal independence. CNBC writes, China kicks off military drills near Taiwan, warns island's independence means war. You see right here, these are some of the images of China's Shandong carrier spotted in the distance by the Taiwanese Navy ships. When Donald Trump showed weakness in the Oval Office and attacked Zelensky, when Donald Trump was clearly showing that he could not manage what was going on with Russia's unlawful invasion, China saw that as weakness. Putin saw that as weakness. By the way, our European allies, who Donald Trump doesn't want to be our allies and has pushed them away, they saw weakness. Canada saw weakness. Australia, New Zealand saw weakness. And so the entire geopolitical power structure has changed dramatically. America is isolated and alone. Do you think that our allies, or I guess based on Donald Trump, our former allies, are sharing intelligence now with the United States? When we learn more stories about Mike Walls and Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump's national security advisor and Donald Trump's defense secretary, who were on that group text thread where they invited the editor-in-chief from The Atlantic, where they were discussing their war plans, where they accidentally invited a reporter. And then they said, oh, those war plans aren't classified, even though we talk about F-18s and specific strike times in Yemen, even though we are talking about specific drones that we're using and when we're using them. Oh, those aren't war plans. Case closed. That's what the Trump regime says. Case closed. We're not talking about it anymore. Well, now we learn that Mike Waltz, the national security advisor, and his staff, they've been using Gmail for government communications. This breaking from the Washington Post yesterday. Mike Waltz and other members of Trump's National Security Council conducted their government business over personal Gmail accounts, where they held conversations about highly sensitive information, including about military positions, powerful weapon systems, and more. By the way, let me share this with you as well. This from France 24, where they're talking about the Chinese warship planes surrounding the self-determining island of Taiwan. Just watch how the international media is covering what's going on, and just notice that, did you hear any response from Donald Trump? By the way, have you heard Donald Trump on his own, without being asked a question from the media, talk about the 4 American soldiers who died in Lithuania? Have you heard Donald Trump talk about that at all? Express sympathy, express compassion? I know he's incapable of that. Anyway, let me play this clip for you. Let's play it.
Chinese warships, troops, and planes surrounded the island of Taiwan Tuesday in a blatant show of military force.
The drill focuses on exercises on sea and air combat patrols, seizing control, sea and land strikes, and blocking key areas and roads to test the combat capabilities of our troops. This is a severe warning and forceful containment against the Taiwan Independent Separatist Forces.
I want to tell you about our next sponsor, StopBox. I am a responsible gun owner, and I use StopBox to make sure that my firearm is secure. I have a 5-month-old baby girl. Seems that she's getting older each day. I have a number of nieces and nephews in my house, and it is critical that I have the peace of mind that my firearm is safe, secure, out of their reach, and that can never be accessed, while making sure that I can protect my family. And one of the things that I like about StopBox Pro is it is 100% mechanical, so you never have to worry about it not working when you need it the most. And I was surprised about how durable and well made it is. And also, it not relying on a battery also gives me more peace of mind. All StopBox products are proudly made in the USA in their own facility. Not only does this ensure the high quality craftsmanship of every product sent out, but it does also create meaningful jobs here. And at the MeidasTouch Network, all of our products, all of our merch are made in America as well. So it's great to be supportive of an American business like StopBox. So for a limited time only, our listeners are going to get a crazy deal here. Not only do you get 10% off your entire order when you use the code Meidas10 at stopboxusa.com, they're also going to give you a buy one, get one free for their StopBox Pro. So that's 10% off and a free StopBox Pro when you use the code Meidas10. Just spell it right. MEIDAS10, Meidas10. So you go to stopboxusa.com, use that code Meidas10. Discover a better way to balance security and readiness with StopBox. Turning to the statesmanship of President Zelensky, and Zelensky realizing the power and strength that he always had the power and strength, but now recognizing the weakness of Donald Trump, forging ahead and strengthening the alliances that Ukraine has with its reliable and unwavering allies like Germany. I'm going to read you this language from Zelensky. You can see here what's going on in Europe right now, as we previously reported. Like last week, there was that meeting held in France amongst the coalition of the willing. Of course, the United States was not there. European countries and others who were there to support Ukraine and make it very clear that they would not be allowing Donald Trump and Putin to engage in a bilateral discussion to carve up Ukraine or give minerals away to Donald Trump or whatever without Europe and Ukraine being involved. Here's what Zelensky posted yesterday. I held a meeting with the German foreign minister. We discussed further support for our state, the path to a dignified peace, and the development of security guarantee formats. Germany is a leader in Europe in the scale of assistance provided to Ukraine, from financial aid and weapons to strengthening our air defense. This includes, and it talks about the weapon system, we are grateful to Germany for the decision to provide an additional $3 billion to Ukraine. In total, German support this year will be 7 billion euros. We are grateful that German support for Ukraine remains unwavering and stable. We thank Germany, its government, and all the German people for their significant assistance. I just want to show you this interaction between President Zelensky and the outgoing German foreign minister, because this is how diplomatic relations among allies is supposed to go down. This is what mutual respect looks like. President Zelensky acknowledging the incredible support provided by Germany. Germany recognizing that Zelensky is a wartime president, defending, frankly, not just Ukraine, but all of Europe from Vladimir Putin, and also making it very clear that even though the foreign minister of Germany is part of the outgoing government, that the new government will have the same continuity of support for Ukraine, and that will be unwavering. This is how it's supposed to look. So when you see this clown show of what Donald Trump does with his pressers every day, this is how it's supposed to look here with what you're about to see with Zelensky and German's foreign minister. I want you to watch this.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for such big support, such big attention. Your attention to Ukraine, Ukrainian people. We are thankful to you, Germany, your government, and of course to all your people. Such significant support, very big. First of all, military support from the very beginning of war. Then, of course, air defense. You know that this always been, especially 3 times during winters, it was a big challenge for us. Thank you so much. And we count on continuation. Yes, I had to say it. Yes, but we are thankful for everything what been done before, and your humanitarian support, and that decision, the last decision of unblock 3 billion euros, really huge investment to our strengthen of our army and of our people, of all our nation. And you did a lot. I cannot stop. That's why. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you also for receiving me all these times, and especially now. And as you know, we had our elections in Germany, so this is also a farewell. But it was important for me to be here also in these challenging times to underline that the outgoing government and the incoming government will continue together the pathway of the support for Ukraine, because as we have said all these years, but even more intensively right now, Ukraine is defending European security, European peace. So the continued support is an investment in our own security. And therefore, the 3 billions in addition, amounting to 7 billions for 2025. But even more important, our constitutional change to enable that we have 500 billions for the next year, which is also open to support of European defense and the support of Ukraine, underlining that we are staying and standing with Ukraine as long as it takes, and that we can win peace only through strength all together. And therefore, this is a farewell, but also a continuation of Germany's support in the upcoming government for the just peace, but also for EU membership, because this is also, I think, the pathway we have walked together in the last years, that Ukraine belongs to the European Union, and we will walk this path also together in the future.
Now, President Zelensky made numerous other posts about the various European allies and others who came to visit him over and over again, expressing gratitude and talking about the strong alliances that they have. Now, I want to share this with you as well, because I find this to be kind of interesting. What's leaking from the Trump regime about Donald Trump being angry that Putin's outplaying him, that Putin's outmaneuvering him. But then as this story breaks, by the way, from Fox broke the story, Jackie Heinrich from Fox broke the story, who, by the way, the Trump regime is really not a big fan of hers. Then you have Donald Trump in the Oval Office on Monday, though, saying that the reason that Putin had to invade, he goes, was because Ukraine wanted to join NATO. Donald Trump's instinct, in other words, is to take Putin's propaganda right away and then spread it from the Oval Office. So let me first show this first. This is from Fox. Trump believes Putin is stalling. Administration's eyeing aggressive sanctions enforcement, including Russian shadow fleet. A source familiar with the discussion tells Fox that Donald Trump is frustrated with Putin and believes Russia is slow-rolling comprehensive ceasefire talks. A path forward is being discussed, and it goes on to talk about that path forward. Now, whether that's being leaked from like Rubio or somebody who wants to be more hawkish, or I should just say more rational about the threat being posed by Russia, and they're trying to will that into existence. I mean, Donald Trump, though, from the Oval Office, reeking of weakness. I don't know how else do you look. This reeks of weakness. Weakness. Here, play this clip.
And what happens is we made a deal for rare earth. It was all done. And I heard through you, I haven't spoken to them yet, but through you, I heard that they're now saying, well, I'll only do that deal if we get into NATO or something to that effect. Well, that was never, number one, discussed. Number two, I think it's going to be very long before Putin. They said you're not going into NATO. And it could be, that's probably the reason the war started, actually.
We're hours away from a very special.
Now, finally, I want to share this with you as well. We should never forget when we have these discussions, the ultimate weak act by Donald Trump that right away made it clear to the world that Donald Trump was never going to be a serious individual and that they really should never take him seriously. I mean, look, arbitrary, capricious, and he is in control as the commander-in-chief of the United States, the strongest military force that's ever existed. But Donald Trump is so focused on what his next Mar-a-Lago golf game or what meme he's going to post on social media. Never forget that Trump's campaign promise was on day one that there would be peace in Ukraine. He said in 24 hours, he said even before he took office, that he had such great relationships with Zelensky and Putin, this would be easy. Here, play this clip.
End the war in Ukraine in 24 hours.
Yes, I
How would you do that?
I know Zelensky very well. I'll end that war between those two countries in 24 hours. It won't even take that long.
So yes, the world seeing stunning weakness. And I'll just share this with you as well. Former United States Ambassador to Japan, Rahm Emanuel, spoke with me on the MeidasTouch network about the weakness that Donald Trump has showed in the Oval Office and the message it sent to others. He's the former ambassador of Japan who negotiated trilateral deals that sought deterrence against China in the Obama administration. Here's what he has to say what went down. Let's play the clip.
Here's what you should note. Ever since the United States in Ukraine showed a weakness and a vulnerability towards Putin, that very week or a week later, China did an unprecedented naval exercise against Australia, our ally. They had to shut down civilian air traffic near Sydney. They did an unprecedented move against Japan in the Sea of Japan. They did it against Vietnam. They did it in the Philippine area, and they did it on Taiwan Straits. So they see weakness. Weakness invites aggression.
It was great to have that perspective. Tell me what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers. Thank you so much for watching.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.meidastouch.com. All 100% USA union made.